Hey everyone. So I'm going to be reading Romeo and Juliet 1.4 for you today, and I'll be giving you some notes along the way, so make sure that you have your Romeo and Juliet packets out and that you can just take translation and plot point notes on the side there. So starting at scene 4, it says, enter Romeo, Mercutio, Benvolio, with 5 or 6 other maskers, torchbearers, and a boy with a drum. So they're all on their way right now to go into this Capulet party. And maskers are people who go to these parties and they perform dances there. So the plan for Romeo, Mercutio, and Benvolio is to sneak into this party by wearing masks and dancing with these people so that they can get in. So Romeo starts off and says, what, shall this speech be spoke for our excuse, or shall we on without an apology? So he's saying, how are we going to get in here? How they're going to notice. Benvolio says, the date is out of such prolixity. We'll have no Cupid hoodwinked with a scarf, bearing a Tartar's painted bow of lath, scaring the ladies with a crow-keeper, nor no without book prologue faintly spoke after the prompter for our entrance. But let them measure us by what they will. We'll measure them, a measure and be gone. So Benvolio saying, we don't need to say so much. We don't need to explain anything. We're just going to go in. They're going to judge us however they want, and we're going to start dancing. Romeo says, give me a torch. I am not for this ambling. Being but heavy, I will bear the light. Nay, gentle Romeo, we must have you dance. Not I, believe me. You have dancing shoes with nimble soles. I have a soul of lead, so stakes me to the ground that I cannot move. Mercutio says, you are a lover. Borrow Cupid's wings and soar with them above a common bound. I am too sore and pierced with his shaft to soar with his light feathers, and so bound I cannot bound a pitch above dull woe. Under love's heavy burden do I sink. Mercutio says, and to sink in it should you burden love, too great oppression for a tender thing. Romeo says, is love a tender thing? It is too rough, too rude, too boisterous, and it pricks like a thorn. Okay, so both Benvolio and Mercutio here are trying to, again, keep Romeo cheered up a little bit, and they're saying that he has to be one of the people who dances, but he doesn't want to. He's saying, let me just hold the torch instead, let me hold the light on the way in, so that I don't have to dance with you guys, and they both want to make him dance. He says that he's too heavy. He says, I don't want to dance, my heart is too heavy. I've been hurt by Cupid, and it feels like he has the arrows in me, and so it's weighing me down. It's like the wound is hurting him. So he's really trying to get out of dancing. He's saying, it hurts, like being in love hurts this much, and so I don't want to, I don't want to dance right now. And Mercutio is going to start making fun of Romeo, basically, because Benvolio is a little bit more patient with Romeo. He has a little bit more kinder love for Romeo, whereas Mercutio is going to start making fun of him. He's going to make a lot of sexual innuendos about everything that Romeo is saying about love. He's going to turn it into something else. So just be aware and trying to be understanding of what Mercutio is doing and the fact that he's making fun of him all this time. Mercutio says on line 27, if love be rough with you, be rough with love. Prick love for pricking, and love beat love down. Give me a case to put my visage in, my face, a visor for a visor. What care I, what curious eye does coat deformities? Here are the beetle brows shall blush for me. So Mercutio is like, all right, you need to go beat love down because love has beat you down, so you need to do it back to love. And he says, give me a mask so that I can put my mask in. He's saying my face, my mask. And then they put on these masks. And he says, I don't care if anyone sees my flaws. Benvolio says, come, knock and enter, and no sooner in but every man betake him to the legs. So he's like, as soon as we knock on the door and go in, we're just going to start dancing, okay? Romeo says, a torch for me. Let wantons light of heart tickle the senseless rushes with their heels. For I am proverbed with a grandsire phrase. I'll be the candle holder and look on. The game was never so fair, and I am done. So Romeo again is insisting. He's like, I'm not going to dance. I really don't want to dance, but I'll hold the light for you guys if you want. And he says, you know, I'm someone from a proverb, basically, and he's referencing this proverb that says, or a saying that says, if you can't lose, don't play the game. And so he's like, I can't do this, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna go in and dance right now. And Mercutio gets upset at this. He says, Tut, done's the mouse, the constable's own word. If thou art done, we'll draw thee from the mire, or save your reverence, love, wherein thou stickest. Up to the ears, come, we burn daylight, ho. So Mercutio is like, come on, Romeo, you're being a stick in the mud right now. This is ridiculous. And if you're going to be so far in the mud, then we're going to pull you out of the mud. We're going to pull you out of love. You're being cautious as a policeman on night duty. We need to get you off of this whole thing. You're wasting our time and you're wasting our light right now because they have these torches on. He says, come, we burn daylight, ho. Romeo says, nay, that's not so. Romeo's like, it's not day. We're not burning daylight, as you said. And Mercutio, again, is frustrated. He says, I mean, sir, in delay, we waste our lights in vain. Lights by day. Take our good meaning, for our judgment sits 5 times in that air, once in our 5 wits. So Mercutio is like, come on, like, you knew what I meant. You don't need to be one of those people who harps on the meaning of every single word. You knew that I meant we were wasting our time and wasting the light of our torches. Romeo on line 50 says, and we mean well in going to this mask, but 'tis not wit to go. Why, I may want to ask. So Romeo's like, you know what, I get it. We mean well in going to this party, but it's not a good idea. This is a really bad idea, and he's about to say why. So this is definitely important, keeping in mind why what he's talking about here. So Mercutio asks why, and Romeo says, I dreamt a dream last night. Mercutio says, and so did I. Well, what was yours? Mercutio says that dreamers often lie. So he says, I dreamt that dreamers often lie. He's poking fun at Romeo again. And Romeo says, in bed asleep while they do dream things true. So Mercutio now has this really long speech, basically, where he's trying to convince Romeo, again, to lighten up. He is going on this tangent about what happens to people in their dreams and how it's all like idle talk. And he starts talking about this woman, Queen Mab, and she's a prostitute. So he's referencing how, like, in your dream, you'll think about women and they will make you want to dream of love and all of these things. So try to understand, it's really long, but try to keep track as I'm going, and try to imagine what he might be suggesting to Romeo. So he says, oh, then I see Queen Mab has been with you. She is the fairy's midwife, and she comes in shape no bigger than an agate stone, on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with the team of little Atomi, over men's noses as they lie asleep. Her wagon spokes made of long spinner's legs, the cover of wings of grasshoppers, her traces of the smallest spider web, her collars of the moonshine's watery beams, her whip of a cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagoner a small grey-coated gnat, not half so big as a round little worm, pricked from a lazy finger of a maid. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut, made by the joiner squirrel or an old grub. Time out of mind the fairy's coachmakers, and in this state she gallops night by night, through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love. On courtiers' knees, that dream on curious' straight, over lawyers' fingers, who straight dream on fees, over ladies' lips, who straight on kisses dream, which oft the angry Mab with blisters plagues, because their breaths where sweetmeats tainted are. Sometimes she gallops over the courtier's nose, and then dreams he of smelling out a suit, and sometimes comes with the tithe pig's tail, tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep. Then he dreams of another benefice. Sometime she driveth over the soldier's neck, and then dreams he of cutting foreign throats, of breaches, ambuscades, Spanish blades of health's 5 phantom deep, and then anon drums in his ear, at which he starts and wakes, and being thus frightened, swears a prayer or two, and sleeps again. This is that very Mab that puts the manes of horses in the night, and bakes the elf flocks of foul sluttish hairs, which one untangled much misfortune bodes. This is the hag, when maids lie on their backs, that presses them and learns them first to bear, making them the woman of good carriage. This is she. Romeo says, peace, peace, Mercutio, peace. Thou talk of nothing. Okay, so he went on this whole big tangent. He's talking about all the different things that can happen to you in dreams. Like, so many different things can be happening in dreams. And he's going back and forth between mentioning this prostitute and also just other things that people might dream about. So, he's talking about this prostitute visits people in their sleep, and it makes you think of like crazy things. And down by line 76, it says, through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love. So it's saying, you know, she passes through people's brains and makes them dream of love at night. And then he talks about how on 85 it says, tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep, then he dreams of another beneface. So she comes in and visits a priest at night, and then all of a sudden he decides to make a big donation the next day because he dreamt about her, and then all of these other things that people just dream of at night. Oh, my lights just turned off. Okay, and so now we're coming to the end of the scene, and it's lines 101. So again, Romeo just cuts him off. Romeo is like, please stop. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. You thought I was wasting your time. You are wasting my time. You're talking about nothing right now. This is all nonsense. It doesn't matter. And Mercutio says, true, I talk of dreams, which are the children of an idle brain, begot of nothing but vain fantasy, which is as thin of substance as the air, and more inconstant than the wind, who woos even now the frozen bosom of the north, and being angered puffs away from thence, turning his side to the dew-dropping self. So Mercutio basically is like, true, you're right, dreams are nothing, so he gets Romeo to say this after Romeo was worried and he was stressed about going to this party because he said he had a bad dream about it, like a bad omen, for going to this party today. And so Mercutio goes on this long tangent and ultimately gets Romeo to say, dreams don't mean anything. And this is all ridiculous, like this is too much. And so he's trying to make Romeo relax a little bit about the dream that he had last night. But listen to what Romeo says was happening in his dream. So Benvolio says, this wind you talk of blows us from ourselves. Supper is done, and we shall come too late. Benvolio's like, we need to hurry up right now. Like, this is taking too long. We're going to be there late. We're going to miss this whole thing. And Romeo says, I fear too early, for my mind misgives some consequence yet hanging in the stars shall bitterly begin his fearful date with this night's revels, and expire the term of a despised life closed in my breast by some vile forfeit of an untimely death. But he that has the steerage of my course direct my sail on, lusty gentlemen. Benvolio says, strike, drum. They march about the stage and then withdraw to the side. So really, this whole scene, the reason I'm reading it to you rather than reading in class is because it's a little bit redundant. We know a lot of this stuff already. We know they're on their way to the party, and we know that Romeo is sad, and all of this stuff kind of already is covered. But it is important, definitely, that Romeo had this dream last night, that he says that I'm scared that this party is going to end bad. I feel something bad is coming from this, and he says, I think that this party is going to end in some way in my own death. I feel like I'm going to die an untimely death, which is like I'm going to die too young. Something's going to happen from this. So he's really worried, and obviously this is foreshadowing. This is huge foreshadowing for what happens down the road in the story, and obviously it's going to go through like a roller coaster first, but this is definitely all just to say that he could feel from the beginning that this is not a good thing and that it's problematic from the start. Okay, and that is scene 4.